In the fall of 1859, a few brave volunteer firefighters banded together, creating the Circle City's first professional firefighting organization, the Indianapolis Fire Department. Steeped in tradition, generations of these dedicated men and women have evolved to meet the dangers of a modern world. Straddling history, the IFD uses the latest techniques to do an age-old job.
The job of the firefighter is still so basic. Save lives, protect property. We've just changed how we do it.
Today, the IFD enjoys an international reputation for excellence. The department's aggressive style saves lives, sometimes at the risk of their own. Tragedies have steeled their resolve, improved their tactics, and made them safer.
All those things we do today, we do 10 times better than we did in 1985. That we didn't do at all in 1965.
With their trademark zeal, the IFD will undoubtedly meet the future head-on, but new challenges are on the horizon. Modern problems call for modern solutions. What principles will guide the next generation?
It's kind of a philosophy, I guess. First in, last out.
We want to be first in, okay? First in to save lives and property.
We want to be the last ones because we want to walk away knowing, okay, job's done.
Us younger guys will just try and keep trucking it on.
Major funding for this program was provided by Wishart Health Services and the Richard M. Fairbanks Burn Center at Wishart, a central Indiana adult burn center using the latest medical techniques in the treatment of burns. Wishart proudly supports the Indianapolis Fire Department and all who share our commitment to save, protect, and improve lives in our community. And Michaelis Insurance Restoration, providing 24-hour emergency services for fire and smoke damage, water extraction, and board up for residential and commercial services. Know us before you need us. Additional support was provided by the Indianapolis Professional Firefighters Local 416, proudly operating the Indianapolis Firefighters Museum and providing public access to documents, photos, and artifacts from IFD's past. And by these donors.
I grew up in the fire department. My dad came on in 1906. So right now with my son on, we got 110 years on the fire department from 1906 to what the hell ever the math is. So that's how I got started.
My name's Andrew Hawes. I'm a sub on the C shift. I've been on IFD for a little over 2 years, and I grew up in Greenwood, Indiana. If you can make the cut in the academy, then you're a probie. And if you can make the cut as a probie, you're a sub. You're the workhorse. You do everything that nobody wants to do. You know, 8 o'clock bells ring, you're cleaning toilets, making coffee.
There's the things that you need to learn, and as you learn, you got better and better and better. And it took a few years, but
we're the younger generation. You know, we sit back and we're seen but not heard, but we pick up on a lot. The real heroes are the retirees and the older guys that have been there and done that. We're just trying to follow in their footsteps.
Prior to 1835, 3 tools were used for fighting fires in Indianapolis: the bucket, ladder, and axe. In that year, 2 developments laid the foundation for modern firefighting in Indiana's capital city. Indianapolis created its first publicly funded fire company, and this new organization, the Marion Hose and Protection Company, received its first hand pump engine. The force was comprised entirely of volunteers.
So they built the first fire station right around Monument Circle. And as the city began to grow, well, then also began to grow other volunteer fire companies, and there were a lot of rivalries between the companies.
Rivalries weren't just based on pride. There was also money to be made, or lost. The first company to arrive at a fire was said to have first due. The first crew to recover the cast iron insurance marker from the building was also entitled to a payout.
So there was always a rush to be first due. First due and recover that fire mark. Initially, they just kind of went quickly. Then it ended up where they were fist fighting, and then it ended up where they were sabotaging one another's equipment. Anything to be first due.
150 years has changed much about IFD, but the competitive spirit has not softened with age.
There's still a rivalry of, I can beat this company in to their own territory. We're first due in here. We've not lost that tradition.
As long as nobody's shirking their duties to get in there first, everybody's still being safe, then the competition's kind of neat. It keeps everybody on their toes and they know they got to be good. And I think that keeps them good, knowing that if they don't do things quick and efficiently, they're going to get run over by the other companies.
Competing to be first on the scene has always required moving quickly. On today's crowded city streets, a fire engine cutting through traffic is passed in a flash, siren fading quickly in the distance. But the IFD hasn't always utilized such efficient transportation. The first fire engines had only 2 horsepower and required a daily feeding of barley and oats.
The alarm box, of course, are on your street corners. But if somebody pulled that alarm, the alarm office would turn around and would send that box number out. The horses would come out back in front of their apparatus. There was harnesses hanging from the ceiling. They would drop down, and the firefighters would go down the pole. They'd grab your coat. Then you'd hitch up the horses. This would all take place within 3 minutes of time. They'd be out of the door, or less.
As Indianapolis moved into the mid-1800s, the city's private volunteer fire companies were becoming powerful political forces. No man of age could reach Indianapolis high society without membership. But Indianapolis was changing, and many citizens quickly saw the need to combine the many competing fire companies.
There was an unequal distribution of the wealth, and they finally decided we need a paid municipal service, that's organized underneath a central leadership, and we need to do away with all these different companies.
The Indianapolis Fire Department was born. Firefighters, however, would have little time to adjust, as many would soon answer another call for service: the Civil War. 4 years of war left lasting wounds on many of the men and the young department they served.
The work of the fire department is before the eyes of the public and needs no comment. He leads a life which is as perilous as that of the soldier. To face danger is the business of his vocation, and there is no gilding of glory. What impels that man, sword in hand, at the head of his company? The love of glory is only the survival of the primitive love of bloodshed. When the love of humanity shall supplant the narrow feeling of patriotism, as that has succeeded the narrower sentiment of family allegiance, the employment of the warrior will cease, and the last school of the higher qualities of manhood will be the calling of the fireman.
From this era emerged an early hero of the Indianapolis Fire Department, Daniel Glazier. He pioneered the aggressive interior attack firefighting method IFD still uses today. He was also killed practicing the tactic he implemented.
Back in the day, they used to just circle the wagon, surround and drown, put the big water on it. If you've seen any of the old pictures, there's a lot of high-pressure wagons, and they all just stand around through water on the fire. Well, he realized very early on that the way to really attack a fire is to get in and get at the seat of the fire.
Even though he was chief officer of the department, Glazier was inside a burning building when a wall collapsed. His funeral was the largest Indianapolis had ever seen.
So he not only talked the talk, he walked the walk, said this is what we need to do. But we didn't abandon that philosophy at the time. We still carry it on today. We know that we've got to get in fast, get to the seat of the fire and get it knocked down is the best way to save lives and save property.
The Indianapolis Fire Department was always an engine-based fire department, and their main thing was get to the seat of the fire, which means be aggressive. That's what I remember, and that's what I liked. You can't teach aggression. I used to watch the young guys when the alarm would go off, you could just see guys' eyes light up when you'd hear working fire.
We're noted for being an interior attack department. That's what makes us one of the unique departments all over the country.
Instead of it burning to us, we go in at the seat of the fire and try to stop it. It's a double-edged sword. Our aggressiveness has made us leaders in the fire industry, and it has saved much property and life. Yet if you go into the fire ground, into that chaos, you become part of it. We always have this saying, the cockroaches and rats are all running out of the building, and we're going in.
The IFD's firefighting forces are divided into two different but equally important groups: truck companies and engine companies.
Well, the engine companies are the ones who carry the actual hose and water and are going to go in and put water on the fire. The truck companies are the ones that are going to do the ventilation, breaking windows, opening the roof, and most importantly, searching for the victims. So a lot of times we move ahead without water and move into areas of the house where there's no protection. You know, the fire can continue to go on, but the truck companies have to get those victims out as soon as possible. The two have to go together. Each company and each firefighter in that company has specific duties to do.
There's always competition in the station too. If you're in a double company and you've got an engine and a truck company there, why the engine company's always making fun of the truck men because they're the big guys that swing the axes and do all that stuff, but they're just as valuable as anybody on a fire.
More valuable.
Okay, he's a truck man.
Going beyond what you think is safe, sometimes that's what it takes to get people out. So, you know, we all raised our right hand and took an oath, you know, that we were going to protect the citizens of Indianapolis, you know, up to the extent of possibly losing our own life. And although we hope nobody ever does, that's a pretty serious oath that you took. I think when we back off from that and just say, hey, you know what, we're going to make firefighting as safe as possible, then we're cheating the citizens from what they expect from us and what they certainly deserve from us. You know, in the big picture, as much as we'd like to say nobody will ever get hurt, nobody will ever die, that's just not realistic. And we can try to be as safe as we possibly can, but you still have to go that extra mile and do things that maybe you think, you know, I know what the odds are here that I could, you know, get hurt or killed, but I've still got a job to do. You'd like to say that the ones that you got out that survived, which are a lot fewer than the ones that don't survive, you wish it made up for the ones that didn't, but it doesn't. That's what you have to deal with.
You know what I used to tell them guys where they had a fatality? When I used to say, you guys try hard? They say, yeah. I said, the way I look at it, as good as you guys are, I can't believe if I was in there and I'd want anybody else coming after me. If you go out in the fire and you work your butt off trying to do your job, and you lose somebody, you don't have nothing to hang your head about.
You have to prep yourself when you come on the job to know that you're going to lose somebody, even maybe another fireman, and you're just going to have to be able to deal with that.
In the spring of 1890, a holiday cruelly marked the worst tragedy in the history of the IFD. On March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, a passerby noticed smoke wafting up through the sidewalk grates outside a building in the heart of downtown Indianapolis. The Bowen Merrill Company, a book publisher, had a basement full of paper, and it was on fire. As spectators gathered, every firefighter in the city was called to the blaze. Substitute firefighter Ulysses Glazier, nephew of former chief and IFD hero Daniel Glazier, was among the men present that day.
Started in the basement, spread up the back of the building. Fire on all floors, lots of firefighters on the roof and firefighters on several floors down below that.
Growing out of control and spreading quickly, the fire began to threaten surrounding structures. Firefighters struggling to keep up didn't know it, but the building was near its breaking point.
They didn't foresee the collapse of the building coming, and there were probably 30 or 40 firefighters that were working in and around the building at the time.
When the chaos subsided, 12 firefighters were dead. One more would die later of his injuries.
And they were buried in there for hours. There are stories from the inside where guys were trapped and talking to one another. Some of them got out, some of them didn't.
Ulysses Glazier, the youngest of the fallen, died in his brother's arms, moments before his body was freed from the rubble.
Huge change in the fire service. There's absolutely no pension benefits for any of these individuals. Most of them had big families.
If there was any doubt, the citizens of Indianapolis now realized the risks firefighters were taking on their behalf. For the first time, they were given benefits and pensions as part of their job. Support from other firefighters also helped ease the burden. Departments from all over the country sent money to support the widows and children of the fallen. The firefighting fraternity was taking shape. In the coming years, the bond between the members of this dangerous profession would only grow stronger.
Natalie Cox, sub C shift. I've been on for a little over 2 years. It was like the camaraderie, you know, helping people, and you know, just the whole aspect of being on the fire department. I really enjoyed, and I thought that's something I really wanted to do. And everybody I asked, I was like, every person I asked said, I love my job. We're a family. I don't think people see the ins and outs of it. It's just everything about it's better than I thought. And like I said, it's just every day's different, every day's fun. It's a new adventure, and hanging around people that enjoy being here and doing what they do makes your life better, I think, and makes your job better.
It truly is a family setting. I mean, it's almost, you have two separate families. You have your family 2 days out of every 3 that you live with at home, and then you have your fire department family. You develop very strong bonds and relationships.
1/3 of your life, they say you spend with these guys that you're working with. I mean, you're with them through everything. Good times, bad times.
They would go through anything for you, just like they know you would for them.
Anything that goes on in a family's atmosphere that you have actually is the same thing at a firehouse. If you got a nickname, that's a good thing. Nicknames are good. Mine used to be Fire Cat. So, and that was because when I was younger, I was always up in the attic. And, you know, they always say cats are always screaming, you know, crawling walls and doing crazy stuff.
I'm Eric Wiseman, sub on C shift, and I've been with IFD, well, a little over 3 years now. You got to think that the value of the fire service is in the traditions of the past. For instance, why do guys cook 2 meals at a firehouse? The reason why they cook 2 meals is because they develop relationships with each other and have a great time sitting down a meal and joking around and helping each other out in the kitchen. It builds camaraderie, you know. It's a blast. It makes life a lot more fun, you know. The great thing about IFD is the harder you work for guys, they appreciate it. And then when you get out on a fire scene or, you know, some crazy runs, they're going to trust that you're going to work hard for them on a fire run too, you know. So I think that's really important. It builds that reputation and it sticks with you for the rest of your career, so for the next 30, 40 years. So for me, there's a lot of weight on it for sure.
It follows you, and if you get that bad name, it's hard to get rid of a lot of times. It follows around, it's a hell of a compliment to you when you're a young guy and good officers call and want you back at their house. That's probably as good a compliment as you never have, I think, because you're doing your job and you're well liked and you're easy to get along with. It makes a big difference. or you're a hell of a cook.
Or you got a wad in your pocket and they play cards and you lose to them all the time.
That's the best kind of sub, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
As the 19th century drew to a close, Indianapolis firefighters were becoming more than just civil servants. Tragedies like the Bowen Merrill fire showed they were committed to the city, while outstanding members of the department reinforced its reputation as a competent and professional organization. Tom Smith was among the best IFD had to offer.
I think he's significant because he was actually one of the first African Americans hired in 1876.
Only a decade after the Civil War, Smith and 3 other African Americans joined the department and were all assigned to the same station based on their race.
It was the only colored company in the city, so those firefighters became like a family because they stayed together their entire careers. The only time an African American got hired is when one either retired or died in the line of duty. So they became a close-knit family.
The members of this groundbreaking fire station became well known for their skill with horses, especially Tom Smith.
There's one story about any time they showed up on a fire, his team always seemed to be fresh. They always seemed to be still in a full trot when the other horses were dragging. But guys respected him regardless of his race because of that.
Smith retired, but asked to rejoin the department and was reinstated in 1908. En route to a fire only a few weeks later, he was killed. The hose wagon he was driving was struck by a streetcar.
As they exited the station, they got to the crossing, and Smith, trying to get his horses across the track so they would not be hit, was struck by the streetcar.
Almost 10 years after his death, the IFD made a change that may have disappointed Tom Smith. Spurred by a growing, prosperous city, the department transitioned to motorized transport.
In 1920, they went completely motorized. The Stutz Fire Engine Company had just started business at 1400 North Capitol.
Worried the engines were unreliable, many in the IFD resisted the change. Some had to be forced to use the modern equipment, but the engines easily proved superior, and the department was soon fully mechanized. The animals, however, didn't transition as smoothly.
Well, some of the horses went to milk companies and to pull milk wagons. They'd be going by a firehouse, and they'd hear the alarm, the engine would go out, and they'd chase the engine down. The milkman wasn't very happy with that.
The IFD continued to prosper and grow throughout the 1920s. Few, however, could have predicted the changes in store for the department and the entire country. The stock market crash of 1929, followed by the Great Depression, severely limited the department's budget. Instead of new factory-built engines, firefighters produced their own shop-built trucks on recycled chassis. But financial issues were a far cry from the challenges firefighters would soon face. World War II was on the horizon, and many members of the IFD went from fighting fires to fighting the Axis powers. Whether in Indianapolis or the South Pacific, they would prove their mettle in battle.
Was on it on the invasion of Saipan, Tanyang, Guam, Peleliu, Anguilla, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. We took a suicide plane, lost 9 men, had 26 injured. He come back to the United States, took the atomic bomb over, and got sunk. So I seen a little bit in my time. I went aboard the Indianapolis April 27th of 1944. Ship went down in 12 minutes. Got that fuel oil in my eyes, it burnt real bad, got it in my throat. You had to stay in a group, you know, and the next morning the sharks were all around. You know, you had to stay in a group. If you was out there by yourself, the shark had you. We was out there almost 5 days before we were picked up. 5 of us from Indianapolis on the ship, but the other 4 fellows didn't make it. Well, you never want to give up. If you give up, you ain't gonna make it. I don't care what you're trying to do.
As the men returned from World War II, so did innovative technology born from 4 years of fighting. Most significant of these developments was the oxygen mask, originally developed for airplane crews. Adapted into a portable air pack, this device, now known as the self-contained breathing apparatus, soon became available to firefighters. The post-war period marked the beginning of a technological revolution for departments all over the country. Whether it liked it or not, the IFD was rushing headlong into the future of firefighting. But old habits die hard. Much like the earlier and unfounded worries about using motorized engines, many firefighters viewed the air pack with skepticism. It would be decades before the IFD fully adopted this expensive, life-saving technology.
If it's still for 30 seconds or longer, then this will go off. So, and then you got to make sure it rotates all the way because it gets louder as it goes. Talking to the guys that have been on for a while, you get to learn the really good stuff because they've been in the hardest. You know, the guys that are older, they've been in the really tough stuff.
Well, when we came on, you didn't wear a mask. They always had maybe one or two in a box, but nobody ever used them. If you didn't have to wear a mask, you were then as the years went by with the newer engines, then they started placing, then it became mandatory that you had to wear masks.
You can't be overconfident in the equipment. If you know that you can get low, the lower you get, there's air down there. If you can control your emotions and control your breathing, you can come out of that. Same way if you have to take that mask off and crawl out on that floor, there's a certain amount, might have a skinned nose when you get done, but there's a certain amount of air on that ground that'll let you out.
In the early 1960s, for many members of the IFD and citizens of Indianapolis, a single event would define the decade. On a rainy fall night, the fairgrounds Coliseum explosion shocked the city.
October 31st, 1963, the night when a performance of the Holiday on Ice show turned into a Halloween horror. As always, people skilled in handling disasters are in key roles when they happen. Fire Chief Arnold Phillips is such a man.
Well, when I first got in here, well, of course, naturally, there was people laying all over the ice, and, well, the seats, of course, the concrete there, it caved in on them. And the cause of it, well, it's all indications that it's a gas explosion. I understand there is butane tanks in that concession room, which I understand is under this group of seats.
Chief, in your years of experience here in Indianapolis as a public servant, can you recall any disaster equal to this?
This is the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was at the Coliseum working as a stagehand when it blew up.
I had my scanner radio, and I heard the Coliseum. So I called the dispatcher and told him who I was, and he says, go on out there, they need help.
A faulty valve led propane tanks stored under a portion of the venue's seating to explode. Of the 4,000 spectators, hundreds were injured. Some were thrown more than 50 feet across the ice.
This upheaval, this seated section of very thick concrete, probably an area of 400 or 500 people just lifted into the air and flew. To see a pillar of flame probably 25 or 30 feet high, 5 or 10 feet through, just a regular blast of flame. And people crawling over chairs, bodies out on the ice, utter havoc.
They needed technicians, people to ride the ambulances, and they formed a long line of vehicles, any one that could carry a person. And the Red Cross and Worcester Hospital, they had brought down all their supplies, and if you needed something, just grab it.
That ice was nothing but blood. They finally got the fire put out, but
in the end, the blast injured almost 400 people and killed 74. The state fire marshal and fire chief were indicted for failing to inspect the facility. Members of the gas company and managers of the Coliseum were charged with manslaughter. The fire officials were acquitted. The president of the gas company was convicted, but the verdict was later overturned by the Indiana Supreme Court. The Discount Gas Corporation eventually reached a settlement with the victims and survivors.
I understand this is the worst disaster that has ever occurred in Indianapolis. It's a great tragedy. People will be undoubtedly working here all night, maybe into tomorrow.
We carried bodies over to the cattle barn until they ran us out. Just another day in your life.
When there's someone absent from the house, whether it be for vacation, sick, or any other reason, that's why we rove and we fill in the positions at the firehouses. What it is to be a sub is basically you are the low man on the totem pole as far as seniority, and the fire department seniority is king. And until you get enough time on and you have enough people under you, you cannot acquire your own firehouse until that point. So basically we're the young people learning, we're meeting all the department, we're meeting all the different officers. I think it takes you a while to get seasoned into this job because it's never the same. So you can't just kind of give me a basic training and say, this is what you're gonna see, and then send me out there. I think this process that we're going through where we're subbing and we're roving around and we're new to the job is part of what we need to have to fulfill a career and be on as long as some of those individuals that have been on 35 years. If you are not a hard worker or if you slack or anything like that, it's going to come down a little harder on you. So, I mean, part of this job is a learning process and you're not going to always make the right decision, but I think the important thing, as we've been told, is to make a decision and then they'll deal with the decision we made later on, but we must make one. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if you'd had told me I would have seen the things or learned the things that I've learned, I would have found it hard to believe. And the good thing about it is that I don't know anything as far as what I'm going to know. It's a good thing to think about how much more I have to learn.
You know, they always talk about a toolbox. Try and put it in a toolbox. You may never need it. You may never need it, but someday you might need it. And I know, talking to some guys that have been in some really bad experiences, they say that when you give up, it's when you've used everything that you know to do, you know, as far as whatever the situation may be, as far as getting out of it, getting away from it. You know, if one thing doesn't work, have a plan B. If that doesn't work, have a plan C. Do as many things as you possibly can and keep them in the back of your mind someplace and hopefully never need them, but just try and acquire as much knowledge that you can and keep that in your toolbox.
Just don't take nothing for granted. You know, you get complacent, that's what's going to kill you on this job. You pay attention to basics, you know, you pay attention to your surroundings. You always come in, don't get lazy. Come in, check your equipment out every single day. You just got to stay on top of it. You know, don't get lazy, don't get complacent, because it can bite you in the ass, that's for sure. Right, Chief?
I think the main thing he said is when you have a fire, and after it's over, sit down and talk it over. I don't care if it's a little fire or a big fire, what you did. And if you've got confidence, you don't believe that they won't find out whether you're an asshole on this job or not. That comes in a hurry. If you're good and you work hard, everybody knows it and the whole department will know it.
As for much of the country, the 1960s in Indianapolis was a time of social progress and innovation. The same was true for the IFD. In 1962, the department was desegregated, and African-American firefighters could apply at any company of their choosing. By the mid-60s, the department was fighting more fires than ever before. IFD added a third shift and hired many more firefighters to work the extra hours.
Chief, how many calls do you answer in a year's time?
Well, we did have last year in excess of 12,000.
But thankfully, the number of fires in Indianapolis wouldn't rise forever. By the late 60s, improved building codes and a new focus on fire prevention meant the department was making fewer and fewer fire runs.
Now, we've got an inspection bureau that consists of 20 men, and that's full-time work.
The IFD was at a crossroads. No longer could firefighting be the department's sole mission. A fundamental shift was just around the corner.
Through the mid-70s, it was basically firefighting was what you did. Then it became EMS. We all became EMTs and we all started doing emergency medical services. And then came hazardous materials.
The reason we ended up in hazmat, the reason we ended up in EMS is really twofold. A, nobody else was doing it, so the fire department said, we'll do it. But B, we needed to increase our talent, our skill level to survive. We had too many firefighters.
Specialties such as extrication, arson investigation, swift water, rope, and confined space rescue soon would join EMS and hazmat duties in filling the void left by the diminished fire load.
From maybe 65 to 85, there was this transition of services.
By the mid-80s, the IFD was embracing change. Firefighters were required to wear air masks, and with new building materials and synthetic toxins, they were more necessary than ever. IFD's training academy was expanded to encompass a diverse and ever-changing skill set, and new physical fitness programs were implemented citywide. During this time, the first female firefighter joined the department, and the first African-American was appointed fire chief. On the verge of 1990, the IFD barely resembled the department of decades past. Indianapolis firefighters had better equipment and training than ever. But soon, it would be clear, even a top-notch fire department had room for improvement. As the city continued to expand outward and upward, the danger of fighting fires in high-rise buildings increasingly lurked over the IFD.
The high-rise fire, what you guys are going to come into, is a game changer. There ain't no stepping out to get no air, none of that. I mean, you up 10, 15 stories. That's a game changer.
In the winter of 1992, the chaos and unpredictability of fighting high-rise fires proved to be a chink in the IFD's armor. Highly trained, motivated, and successful, the firefighters responded to an alarm at a historic downtown hotel. But the seemingly routine run turned to disaster. The athletic club fire would force the department to examine its operations and tactics. This tragedy would unfold on a national stage.
In Indianapolis, an overnight fire in the hotel where the jurors in Mike Tyson's rape trial were staying forced a postponement in today's proceedings.
That guy asked me if I could get on that ladder. I told him, you bet your ass I can get on that ladder.
It was a rather cold February. I had 4 years on.
The fire came in a little bit after midnight. Most everybody had already gone to bed.
During this time period, we had several false alarms in the downtown area.
It was just a regular run. There was a light haze in the lobby, and we couldn't tell where it was coming from.
There were people milling all through the area.
I can't even remember how we were told that, well, we think it's up here on the 3rd floor.
It was myself and John Lorenzano. I was teamed up with John. He was a young sub at the time. John and I went up this grand staircase. Smoke was getting worse and worse as we were going up. As we got just about to the 3rd floor landing, John's beside me, and I told John to mask up, stay close. And he didn't say a word, he just looked at me and nodded.
On the 3rd floor, firefighters discovered the source of the smoke, an electrical malfunction in the bar. They quickly extinguished all visible flames.
At that point, we thought we had this fire knocked. We were really feeling good, very aggressive. We're in the fire room, we're doing it.
Above them, concealed by an old suspended ceiling, the fire continued to burn. Other members of the IFD were evacuating hotel guests, but unaware of the growing danger, the teams on the 3rd floor were running out of time and luck.
My alarm goes off. I've got low air. And all of a sudden, the lights went out. I'm crawling around, and for some reason I can't find the stairs I came up on. And I'm at that moment now, what am I gonna do? And I hear some muffling coming my way, And then I hear him talking, and it was Captain Mike Spaulding. I couldn't see him, but I could hear his voice. I know there's someone else there. I didn't know who it was at the time, but later on I found out it was Lorenzano.
Plan was all three of us will go out the way we came in. We got to find that stairway. I couldn't see the stairwell. I couldn't see exactly where we were.
I go to the right, using the left-hand search. I'm following the wall. They're going to the left using the right-hand search. I crawl about 20 feet, and lo and behold, I find what I feel are the stairs. And so I remember hollering back. I felt like I was muffled. I got the stairs. I got the stairs. He couldn't really hear what I was saying, and I knew he couldn't. Somewhere down that corridor, they ran into Woody Galenius. At the time, it was described that they ran into him and his face piece was off, and he was just kind of leaning against the wall, ready to collapse, standing up high.
I got him under the left arm and tried to pull him down, and then you can't see anything. It was super dark, getting hot, very, very hot.
Do I stay here and run out of air, or do I get out? Well, I got out. I went straight down those stairs and zero visibility and made it out. And I'm yelling at him, we got some problems upstairs, we need some help.
And that's when a flashover occurred.
And it just got hot. I mean, everything just went, as black as can be, hot as can be. You knew you were getting burnt. Tried to turn away from it. There wasn't any turning away from it. There was anywhere to turn.
I'm feeling around for the hose line for Woody Galenius and John Lorenzano. I can't feel them. I can't hear them. All I can hear is this roar of this fire, and it was loud.
What had happened while I was downstairs was that a phenomenon called flashover had occurred. That heated black smoke was getting close to its ignition temperature. Simultaneously, a large volume of gas lit up the entire third floor, and there were firefighters still up there. As soon as I walked in that front door, I could hear screaming. And it occurred to me that it was coming from upstairs where I had been.
Wasn't good. And I didn't think I was gonna get out of there, so I was hollering and making all the noise.
Three of us picked up Ann Compare.
And I can remember them getting me out in the street and laying me in the street because I could feel the cool. They saved me.
While Ann Comparrett was receiving medical care, other members of the department continued to search for missing firefighters and rescue civilians. They found Woody Galenius in critical condition. He and Comparrett were rushed to the hospital. But the firefighters still on the third floor were no longer battling the blaze. They were fighting for their lives.
That flashover occurred over their heads, breaking down a lot of the ceiling materials along with flame and heat.
I did my best to start crawling out of there. And as I did, the straps on my SCBA melted off my back. Kind of made peace because I knew that I was going. But tenacious firefighters like Tom Arthur, they came in and they started to search.
I was fighting fire. So I went in this window where there was the most fire. It pushed me right to the floor then. I mean, it was hot. So the whole crew, we just went down.
Tommy had gotten him out from underneath the debris. And Mike told him that he was in bad shape, that he thought he was dying. And Tommy told him, no, you're not gonna die in here.
But anyway, they drugged me out of there, and I thought I was burnt up. I really did. I couldn't see anything.
Mike was really hurting, kind of talking delirious, talking about, he was apologizing to Woody that he was sorry he couldn't get to him.
I can actually remember trying to take a breather. And then we discovered that John Lorenzano was missing. John Lorenzano was my classmate.
I went back up there, man. I thought I found him. Who came down with you? I went back.
We never found him.
As the chaos and confusion cleared, the devastating toll of the fire sank in. 2 firefighters were dead. John Lorenzano died in the building, Woody Galenius at the hospital. A sweep of the hotel revealed a civilian also perished in the fire. Many firefighters suffered serious injuries and would spend months recuperating. Dozens of people were rescued, the historic building was saved, but the price to the department was immense.
Losing John and Woody, the fact that I was the last one really with both of them, and we got separated, I hate that. I wish I could have done something differently. I'm not sure what.
It was just chaos up there that night. It just seemed like if it could go wrong, it would. And it did.
It's a tragedy, and it's something that I'll always live with. I guess it's the downside of what we do.
After the athletic club, the firefighters themselves questioned their knowledge, their skill. I remember them standing around the next morning going, did we do something wrong?
We were all in amazement. We were all in disbelief. We were in a daze. It was a trance that lasted weeks. I can remember going home to my wife, and all I wanted was just somebody to hold me like I was a child, because at that time I was feeling very vulnerable. The job does that to you sometimes.
For everybody that was on that scene that night, it was a life-changing moment.
It's always going to come up on you in your life. It'll just, something will remind you of it. Sometimes you wonder whether or not you pushed yourself far enough to go ahead and get it done, and that bothers you too. Can I go a little further with this? Did I miss something? They teach you on this job, they give you the training, and but it's a psychological thing with yourself. You have to deal with it. That's all there is to it.
The Indianapolis Fire Department spent the remainder of the 1990s working to ensure that history would never repeat itself.
There was a lot of negative at the athletic club, but a lot of positive things came from that. In a reactive sense.
And the fire department as a whole said, let's not let those 2 guys die in vain, that we've got to make changes.
So we changed some of our high-rise operations. We changed tools and equipment, because there were several things we think contributed to the deaths other than flashover. We changed all of that. And we changed our mindset, not to be less aggressive, but to be more aware. And we did it through education.
Today, the IFD's commitment to safety and training is well established. The department's high-rise guidebook, developed after the athletic club tragedy, was adopted by the National Fire Academy, and Indianapolis now hosts the world's largest firefighting training conference. Through real-world experience and thousands of hours of practice, the IFD is recognized as a leader in preparing its firefighters for any situation.
But that's what those 2 guys did. They changed the Indianapolis Fire Department. Now, they paid the price for that.
The 9/11 attacks has really brought a whole new role to the fire service, and it really brought everybody's awareness level up to the fact of just what it is firefighters do. 343 firefighters marched into those buildings and didn't come out.
We just had a plane crash into level 4 of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area.
It gave an awareness to people that firefighters are serious. I mean, do what they say they're going to do. And I can remember shortly after 9/11, it was almost eerie that people would stop everything they were doing when you rolled by in a fire truck. They'd salute you, they'd wave to you, they'd bring their kids down and say, these guys are firefighters. And with us, I mean, the training and awareness level, you've got the chemical and biological and radiation attacks that may occur, improvised explosive devices.
CBRN is one of the disciplines that the fire service uses: chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear event. And any of those 4 events, or related events, to that. Training is for the firefighters to be prepared for the best they can for a CBRN event. That's universal. It's not just Indianapolis.
Every community in every city in every corner of the United States, there's some police officer, there's some firefighter, there's some paramedic ready to go to work and restore order to the chaos.
So where do we go from here? We are merging fire departments. We're bringing on what some would consider strangers in township fire departments, but there are no strangers in the fire service. We embrace each other as brothers and sisters under the badge, and we represent as one.
They consolidated and became a department in 1859. We're doing the exact same thing. We are progressing, we are educating, we are preparing ourselves for the future.
The fire service is only getting better. We've come a long way from rubber coats and metal helmets. Nowadays, we're carrying in thermal imaging cameras. Our turnout gear will protect us in temperatures in excess of 200 degrees. Everything we do, everything we wear is based on protection.
But the person that's underneath all that gear or riding on that rig, they're going to be the same people. We'll grow and adapt to whatever it is that we have to do, whatever laws or regulations come through, or whatever changes in safety or apparatus, we'll adapt. But there's no difference today. You're still grabbing that nozzle, you're still grabbing that axe, you're still getting low to the floor, you're still crawling in to find the seat of that fire, and you're still trying to be first due. So I don't think the people change at all. We're the same guys today that we were 150 years ago. What makes a good firefighter? I don't know that we've ever bottled that. I mean, if we could, then this job would be easy.
But that's probably the ultimate question.
You'd probably be better off asking somebody that's actually done it for some time and can tell you a little more than me.
That's a tough one. I've asked myself that for 34 years, what makes a good fireman? One thing that they can't train is heart. And I think that's what makes a good firefighter, is you got to have the heart to want to do it.
But when the opportunity presents itself, that good firefighter steps up to the line and goes to the job.
It's because it's something they were taught by not simply words, but by deeds, by their superiors in their past that showed them this is how we do this job. We work hard. That's what first in, last out means. We never back down. When the going gets tough, we're still in there.
So nobody's really got enough time as a sub to have their war stories yet, but hey, talk to me in the 200th anniversary and I might have a few for you. So
I think that the fire department's got to be a career and not a job. When it's a job, it sucks. If you love what you do, that's going to be a good fireman. That's it.
You guys need to decide what you want the fire department to look like. Because it's in your hands, it's not ours.
Major funding for this program was provided by Wishard Health Services and the Richard M. Fairbanks Burn Center at Wishard, a central Indiana adult burn center using the latest medical techniques in the treatment of burns. Wishard proudly supports the Indianapolis Fire Department and all who share our commitment to save, protect, and improve lives in our community. And Michaelis Insurance Restoration, providing 24-hour emergency services for fire and smoke damage, water extraction, and board up for residential and commercial services. Know us before you need us. Additional support was provided by the Indianapolis Professional Firefighters Local 416, proudly operating the Indianapolis Firefighters Museum and providing public access to documents, photos, and artifacts from IFD's past. And by these donors.